On September 26, 2025, a historic chapter in military aviation officially came to an end. In Chandigarh, the Indian Air Force gave a final ceremonial farewell to its longest-serving supersonic fighter jet, the MIG-21 MiG-21. To the public, it was presented as a celebration of a historic warhorse, a machine that guarded Indian skies for over 6 decades. But behind the beautiful water cannon salutes and the nostalgic military speeches, a completely different emotion was sweeping through the families of Indian defense personnel. Think about this staggering paradox. This is a machine that won India the 1971 war. This is the exact type of aircraft that Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman flew in 2019 to cross into enemy territory and shoot down a far superior Pakistani F-16. Yet, this very same aircraft is universally dreaded. It has earned 2 of the most terrifying nicknames in military history: the Flying Coffin and the Widowmaker. How does a machine go from being the ultimate shield of a nation to its ultimate hazard? Why did India keep flying an aircraft for over 6 decades that was experiencing frequent, tragic losses during peacetime routine training? Today, we are going to look past the political propaganda and the military romance. We will strip down the geopolitics, uncover the hidden engineering flaws, and expose the institutional inertia that cost India hundreds of its brightest young minds. To understand why the MiG-21 became a tragedy, we first need to understand why it was initially viewed as a masterpiece. The year is 1953. The Cold War is rapidly heating up. The Soviet Union faces a massive threat: American long-range, high-altitude strategic bombers capable of carrying nuclear payloads straight to Moscow. The Soviet leadership issues a desperate order to its top design bureau, MIG-21, build us an interceptor. We don't care about range, we don't care about comfort, and we don't care about advanced ground attacks. We want an aircraft that can take off, climb to the edge of space at twice the speed of sound, fire its missiles at an American bomber, and land. And the Soviets delivered precisely that. Look at this design. It was pure minimalism. They adopted a delta wing, a triangular wing design that minimized drag at supersonic speeds. To feed air to its massive Tumansky engine, they put the air intake right at the front nose, with a moving shock cone that adjusted automatically based on how fast the jet was traveling. It was cheap to manufacture, incredibly fast, and simple to maintain. It was the aviation equivalent of the AK-47. The Soviet Union ended up manufacturing over 11,000 units of this machine. It was exported to over 60 nations. During the Vietnam War, tiny North Vietnamese MiG-21s completely shook the United States military, successfully hunting down state-of-the-art American F-4 Phantoms. It was an undisputed global icon. Now, let's pivot to India. In the early 1960s, India was in a highly vulnerable geopolitical position. The 1962 war with China had exposed deep gaps in military readiness. Simultaneously, the United States had started supplying Pakistan with highly advanced military hardware, including the supersonic F-104 Starfighter. India desperately needed a supersonic fighter to balance the scales. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru turned to the West. India asked the US and the UK for modern fighter jets. But the West refused, placing strict political conditions and weapon restrictions. That is when Moscow stepped in with an offer India simply couldn't refuse. Not only did the USSR offer to sell MiG-21s to India for cheap, but they also offered something the West never would: full technology transfer. They allowed India's state-owned Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, HAL, to manufacture the MiG-21 locally within India. In 1963, the Indian Air Force formally inducted its first batch into No. 28 Squadron, proudly calling themselves the first supersonics. For a long time, the MiG-21 delivered beautifully on its promise. In the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, Indian MiG-21s completely dominated the skies. In a pivotal moment on December 14, 1971, a division of MiG-21s carried out a highly precise rocket strike on the governor's house in Dhaka. The strike was so psychologically devastating that the East Pakistan governor resigned on the spot. Within 48 hours, Pakistan surrendered unconditionally. The MiG-21 became the absolute backbone of India's defense, making up nearly 40% of the IAF's total fighter strength. But as the decades rolled on into the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, a horrifying trend emerged. India has lost nearly half of its entire MiG-21 fleet to peacetime accidents. More Indian pilots have lost their lives flying the MiG-21 during routine training exercises than in all of India's foreign wars combined. TO understand why it was crashed. Because of absolute inefficiency within production pipelines and systemic delays in defense funding, a project meant to modernize our fleet and protect our pilots took more than 3 decades to fully materialize. To fill this massive operational gap, what did successive governments do? Instead of retiring the MiG-21, they chose to upgrade it. In the late 1990s, India signed a multi-million-dollar deal to upgrade older variants into the MiG-21 Bison. They put in better radar, improved electronic warfare suites, and modern glass cockpits. But here is the harsh reality you cannot escape. You can upgrade the radar, you can upgrade the missiles, but you cannot upgrade basic aerodynamics. It was still a single-engine, inherently unstable airframe from the 1950s that required a blistering, dangerous landing speed. It was like putting a cutting-edge smartphone operating system inside a decades-old plastic chassis. When the final MiG-21 touched down for the last time in late September 2025, closing out 62 years of service, the mainstream media called it the end of an era. The Defense Ministry called it a day of national gratitude.